Claudia, you hear us now? Just since you asked, you hear us okay?
Yes.
Yes? Okay, great.
I guess
All right,
it went live.
Thank you. Okay. This is Peter Casper. I'd like to call the Town of Hebron's Board of Selectmen regularly scheduled meeting for July 11th to order at 7 o'clock. For those that are present, if you could stand and join me in the pledge of allegiance. Appreciate it. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much. That moves us to section 3, additions and changes to the agenda. I see we have some members of the town staff. Andy, are you suggesting any changes to the order in which meeting, or are you good?
No,
with
I
the
think if
agenda?
we keep on
Okay.
the agenda and task, I think we'll get through it within much longer than it should be.
Okay. And does anybody from the board have any interest in additions or discussing additions or changes to the agenda? Claudia, you're good? Keith?
Mhm.
Okay, thank you. Moves us to section 4 on the agenda, which is reserved for public comment. This section of the agenda is reserved for persons in attendance, both virtually and in person, who wish to briefly address the Board of Selectmen. The board requests that a person's comments be limited to a single period lasting 3 minutes or less. While the board respects the right of the public to provide comment, this time is not intended for open discussion or board response. The residents who wish to request a dialogue should simply make arrangements to do so through the town manager's office, or you're welcome to contact me directly as the chair. So do we have any, first of all, in our audience here today, so thank you for joining us, any gentlemen, any public comment at this point? Okay, thank you. Do we have anyone virtually that wishes to make a public comment?
It was just Claudia asking us to turn the audio on, but other than that, I don't see anybody raising their hand
Okay.
at this time.
Okay, and if someone changed their mind, if you're new to the meeting, we do have a section at the end of our agenda that allows for public comment as well. So you could join us for that at the end. So I'll turn it over to section 5 is the good to know and special recognition. I'll turn it over to Mr. Tierney.
Yes, Chairman and the Board of Selectmen, tonight we do not have anybody for that item. If anybody has or knows of anybody of any interest that wants to submit to be on that, let us know. I'm glad that's.
Okay. Thank you so much. Section 6, I'll continue section 6 to Andy to continue with the town manager's report.
Thank you again, Mr. Chairman. I'm pleased to report that the summer camp is in full swing and they're full. All the camps are full, so that's a great sign since COVID, where that wasn't such the case, so hopefully they're doing something right. We entered into the energy contract, so I'll have more information on that. It is a pretty good increase, but we're still recommended to get into it now because they don't see it with this heat and everything. They don't see it going down in the fall, so we're advised to move forward, which we did. Fortunately, or fortunately, we enjoyed good prices for the last 3 years of the contract. I extended this one for 3. You'll see later in this agenda, we opened the bids for the pedestrian bridge for Pendleton Drive. We'll talk about more of that. We hit that agenda item. Got some new information on that. Just to keep you abreast, we're advertising for a new social worker, which that position is now empty. We have quite a bit of resumes, and also for a parks programmer. We have quite a bit of resumes coming in for that. So hopefully those will close soon and we can interview and get those filled. We completed the fiscal year rollover, and that's a pretty good feat with mostly all new people in that department. So so far so good. We're working with the building committee on a lot of projects and dealing with some RFPs and contracts and bidding information. So that's taken up a lot of our time. I'm not sure if the Board of Selectmen is aware or have noticed yet, but the project on Route 66 and 16 they've run into some issues, nothing too concerning, but they are working at night.
Oh,
It's a little bit easier to work at night because that is the intersection. Not for the duration of the project, but I was hoping to get a little bit more notice than I did.
Hey, Andy, if you excuse me seconds, Claudia, Claudia has her hand raised. I don't know if Claudia, you wanted to address something that Andy's already talked about, so we don't lose the thought.
Yes, just a quick question. You mentioned that there's a position open for social worker. I noticed in reading the job announcement, there's not a salary range on that, is there?
In the packet, that's just changing to the job description. That's not the actual advertisement. I think the advertisement does have a range. We'll look that up and get back to you, but this is just updating the job description, but I'll get you that information. I think Dory's.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
Is there a range?
There's a range.
Yes, we do have a range. You want to tell her what it is?
The range is 60 to 65,000.
So what was budgeted was roughly 60,000. So I had the ranges between 60 and 65.
And that will be printed on the job announcement when it goes out publicly.
That is out there with the advertisement for the position. That's part of it.
Thank you. Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, so I told you about the intersection, and then it's kind of late notice, but Matt, planner, wanted the Board of Selectmen to know they plan on having a public hearing, which is the P and Z, on January 23rd, 7 o'clock.
July 23rd.
I'm sorry, July 23rd. Thank you. For a zoning change to the Hebron Green. They're proposing a zoning change. And if the selectmen have any questions prior to that, or if they see anything in it that they want to discuss, feel free to reach out to the town planner directly. So, and that's all I had, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, so that moves us, thank you, Andy, that moves us to section 7, which is full business. I'll defer again to you, Andy, to lead us through these first couple of items. If there's any changes in the American Rescue Plan Act, I see the reserve is the same as we previously discussed, so unless there's some kind of update, I don't think we need to spend much time here unless anybody.
No,
on
I
the board
appreciate that from the Board of Selectmen. Just please know, doing my due diligence, meeting with the department heads weekly. I had the Parks and Rec director in this morning. He said all his projects are on course. I know the pickleball thing, they're expediting that, planning and zoning, and they're working with the school on the base game. So the only thing that remains out there that could be in jeopardy is the CERT. Still haven't had much movement on that. So that's not, it's not for lack of trying.
I believe also the barn or the building being donated by Carefree, that's also before planning and zoning.
Matt's working on that. He had a visit from SHPO and another entity for things.
Okay.
So they had some concerns, but they're working on that with the.
Okay.
Yeah. That was another update I got today.
Oh.
So we'll be moving it. As soon as we get something concrete on those items, we'll be adding it, probably the next agenda.
Board, good?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, great. Thank you. Actually, B is in my area, the Department of Public Works Action Committee update. And I think at this juncture, my only comment would be that we continue to make, I think, very good progress with updating communication, as well as a significant amount of work that's being done by Richard Steiner. I see he's in the group representing the committee. So I just, all I want to say is I think we're making really good progress with the next steps, but I will ask Richard, is there anything you want to discuss or bring before the board in terms of update? I mean, there's a lot going on, but I don't know if there's enough to provide any really a concise update, but since you're here, I'm happy to defer to you if there's anything you wish to update the board on.
Mr. Chairman, thank you for the opportunity. I really don't have that should. Things going.
Yeah. Great. I just want to make sure the public knows as Rich said, there's a lot going on. There's a lot of progress being made. It's a very complex project, as you know, and there's a lot of good work being done by folks on the committee and the associated entities involved to continue to move this project forward. So that's all I want to say on that, Mr.
Just if I could jump in,
Yeah, sure,
Richard's pretty modest. So the state of Connecticut through UConn had a roundtable discussion on new public works facilities, what do's and don'ts, and they had a roundtable with towns or municipalities that are presently in the process or have just recently completed it. And both Paul and Richard Steiner attended that and came back with some good information.
That's a good addition. Thank you. Okay, that moves us to, thank you, Richard. That moves us to 7C, which is rules and procedure protocols and FOL and communications.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, it was brought to my attention and I was asked by you yourself to look into this with the town attorney. Not sure if the seated board of selectmen are aware of this, but using personal devices or communication during a public meeting is definitely FOI, but it's also violation of the actual meeting itself, because you're kind of, if there's anything that involves items or agendas or conversations regarding communications between constituents or other board members, that's FOIable, but that's also considered not being transparent and keeping the public out of that conversation, which might help with or without a vote on an agenda item. So he said that there's a opinion in here.
Yep.
Which you want to jump in?
Yeah, no, I just thought it was important and asked Andy to follow up because obviously we're all very dependent upon our phones. I participate, I know personally in a number of meetings during the day that are virtual and people are on their phones and all that. So I thought it was important to at least make sure the board understood the intersection of a device like that relative to the structure of a meeting. That way we all fully understand that. It's very tempting to use our phones or even to have maybe even members of the public communicate with us during a meeting. It's happened to me before. So it's a good opportunity for us as a board to make sure we're fully aware of our responsibilities and to make sure that we're, as Andy said, fully transparent. And that I see the recommendation here that the chair should at every meeting announce to the public and then I can get, if you guys want, I would appreciate comments on it. If you wish for me at this recommendation is at every meeting that we note to the public so the public sees us using our phones, that is for the sole purpose of reviewing documents as opposed to any sort of communication either between ourselves or members of the public. That's the recommendation. But I don't know if the board feels you do that at every meeting. I just thought it was important that we understood if there are things relative to using our phones that we should be aware of it. So I appreciate, Andy, that you reached out to our town attorney to make sure we have that information. So I'll ask the board, do you feel that I should be putting that in the record every meeting as a suggestion here in this from our town attorney? I just wanted to get everyone's thoughts on that, just so we're all comfortable with how we should proceed.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I'm just going to be quite honest. I need to have my phone on me at all times. For work purposes, this is how my boss gets in touch with me.
Sure.
And I have a 24/7 job. I only use my MacBook to see the agenda because I find paper wasteful, just being quite honest, I do. And it's easier for me to see the agendas.
Okay.
But I can't not have access to my telephone given the nature of my
Okay.
job. I don't use it to communicate during the meetings to any members, but I just want to tell you and let you know that I'm going to continue to use it. to look at
And again,
the agenda.
that would be appropriate because you're not doing it, and that's fine. I mean, I have
I
my
just want to
phone.
be very clear that
My
cannot-
phone's on. All of us, we have families and whatnot. And my phone's on as well. It just, and that clearly is not a violation, right? And so
And I get people, as a town manager,
Yeah.
emailing or texting me while I'm in the meeting.
you should have your phone too. There could be an emergency. Of course, there's an emergency. I don't know what we're gonna do now. You're here, chief.
Well, I mean, he's here.
I even had it was me.
Chief, we have an emergency.
Amended and try to.
No. I'm not saying you should turn your phones off. I just want to make sure, the reason I asked, I want to make sure the public is aware
Mhm.
that if we're using a device, it is not to
Right.
transition,
Yeah.
to communicate whatsoever about the meeting, which would then be in violation of the act. It's for some other purpose, like you've got something important from work or a family member, but it's because we have members that can't see how we're using our phones. I think it's important for transparency that at least they understand that we're all abiding by the act, which is that these phones are not being used or other devices are not being used to conduct any town business that may be subject to the act.
And if I could add on to that, and I don't want to steal Keith's thunder, but I think this reiterates why Keith's suggestion was so important a couple of weeks ago in putting together a town-wide commission-wide FOIA training. And so I don't want to steal Keith's thunder if he wants to jump in and reiterate that. But it seems to me that that should become a priority. And I understand it's the summer, but then I
And we
think
were
that
just waiting for the spring, fall, but if you want to move that up.
So, Mr. Pettit, I thank you I know you are not feeling well, and I do thank you for joining us, and obviously continues to demonstrate your commitment to the town that you're not feeling well and you're still choosing to join us. So if you're not up to responding, but obviously, and then Claudia, I'll go to Claudia next if you have anything. But Keith, is there anything you wish to add for questions?
Yeah, just forgive me if I happen to, I'm feeling a little bit better, but forgive me if I happen to cough in the middle of talking. But I completely agree with Tiffany. As a state employee myself, there's very little of my life which is not covered by FOIA. So it's very front of mind to me, and any citizen who feels that I am not acting in the best interests of the position that I'm fulfilling at any moment can feel free to use that act in the way that it was intended to be used, so that the public trust in their elected and appointed officials can be maintained. And I encourage people to use FOIA, because otherwise, how are you going to feel, safe, or feel that your interests and your taxpayer dollars are being used in the way that you want them to be used? I think that citizens should be educated as much as possible, and I don't necessarily know that we have to say it at every single meeting, but I do think it needs to be part of just a general overall introduction. And I can't wait for us to get to that point where we do the training with all the boards, because I know for some people, a town committee like Board of Education or Planning and Zoning, or even like Board of Assessment Appeals, it may be their first interaction with public service and the requirements of being a government official. So I do think that that's something important for us to educate people that may be new to the public sector. But I don't think it's something that we necessarily have to say at every single meeting. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, sure, thank you. Claudia, disagreements with anything or anything you wish to add? I'm not intending this to be a long discussion. I just want to make sure if you have something you wish to add, you're welcome to do so.
No, I'm okay. I mean, none of my life is FOIA except, I guess, this part. I'm good.
And so, Dan, anything?
Oh, no, I just wanted to say I've been through a number of the FOI trainings, and they've always been great. Always learned something new every time I've gone through one. And again, just to reiterate on the phones, if a member of the public actually thinks that we are, potentially utilizing our phone during a meeting, whatever, in an inappropriate manner, then we can be FOI. And if it shows that you weren't on it, weren't on it. It's a great thing with phone history. It's going to give it.
Well, we don't have to
I
worry about
think-
you because you have paper and a pencil. I see you have a pencil over there, so.
Yeah, I still use magic markers and crayons.
Okay, all right, so I agree. I don't think I need to mention it. I think everyone seems very comfortable with the intent of the act and the respect that the utilization of the devices warrants in addition to the requirements. And so I don't feel at this juncture that I'm not going to add it. It's an opportunity to cover it. And if we can maybe accelerate get a date.
What
on
I'll
there.
do is, if it's okay with the board, we'll add it to the meeting policies, procedure, protocols. Or
Sure.
protocols.
Absolutely.
We'll add it there, that way you're covered.
Yeah.
Then secondly, I'm looking for guidance. I've been holding off because we normally don't get the full attendance we would get.
Right.
But if you want to, we can do more than one. It's part of the town attorney's contract to come out more than once
Okay.
within his tenor to give presentations. So if we want to do one in the summer and then do another one, that's okay too.
Well, if you could check on his schedule and see when he's available, and we'll go and then update us, and we'll go from there. Maybe next meeting you can say these are some dates, and obviously the town attorney may not necessarily have the availability to do it right away as well. So thank you.
I would suggest September, October as a good time frame. It's before our budget season when we start getting involved in that. It's before the holidays, but it's after the time when most people are back, after the summer breaks and
Well,
stuff.
yeah, check with our town attorney and see if we do have to move it to September. Let's just do it early. Earlier is better, I think, to your point, Tiffany's point. Because I want to make sure everyone's protected and not just us, but as
Right.
Keith mentioned, there are people that this is the first time.
That's what I was trying
This
to
is
hit.
new
the
news.
bigger one. Yes, but I'll do whatever.
So let's just see, and we can always put the earlier date out, and if we get a set 50% attendance, okay, well, let's go to the second date.
Okay.
See stuff. Thank you. Thank you for doing that research. I appreciate it. Okay, Mr. Attorney, that would move us then to 7D, which is any other old business. You have any other old business you wish to bring before the board?
No.
No, does the board have anything that hasn't been listed under old business? Okay, thank you. All right, rolling right along, moves us to 8 on the agenda, which is new business. I will turn it back over to Mr. Attorney to take us through the next number of items that we have.
Item 8A, approve supplemental appropriation award contract for the Grayville Road Bridge replacement. Attaches information regarding the replacement of the Grayville Bridge. This work is urgent and should be completed in this construction season. Supplemental appropriation request was approved by the Board of Finance at their June 27, 2024 meeting. Town manager is recommending the board of selectmen approve the supplemental appropriation, which the supplemental appropriation request is for $150,500, is with the approval threshold, is it within the approval threshold of the board of selectmen and board of finance. The town manager is also recommending a bid waiver be approved and the bridge replacement be awarded to Magnic Brothers, Inc. So just a little bit of history quickly. This is a small bridge right around under 20 feet. It services two houses at the end of Grayville Road. This bridge was replaced about almost 25 to 30 years ago. And what has happened is the state comes out and does bridge inspections, and it's got a poor rating. And the inefficiencies of the bridge are the steel beams were coated with a corrosion protectant, but somehow it's been penetrated with either winter materials and the weather and so on and so forth. So it needs to be replaced. This company is a specialized company that does a lot of this, and they're somebody was recommended to us by our engineering firm. I've worked with them in East Haddam prior to here, but I think due to the urgency and now that we are on the hook for a liability, they pointed out that that bridge could possibly cause a problem. We need to get fire apparatus, oil trucks and such vehicles across there. So we need to make that safe. And I think that's what gives it this priority to move this forward.
I believe they're on the state bid list.
I think they are as well. Yes.
You
Thought
think
so.
they are? Or no?
Well, you got the bid number, right?
Yeah, they're on the list.
Okay,
Check.
okay, so great. So we'll actually, I think we'll take this one at a time. We have a resolution and a proposed motion. Dan, do you want to take the resolution?
Sure. Be resolved pursuant to Town Charter Section 905A that the Hebron Board of Selectmen, with prior approval by the Hebron Board of Finance, approve of supplemental appropriation from the general fund unassigned fund balance for the replacement of the Grayville Road Bridge in the amount of $150,500.
Okay, the motion's been read. I'll move the question. Mr. Attorney has demonstrated the urgency related to this matter. So I'll move the question and go to a vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Those opposed, nay, or if you wish to abstain, please note that as well. Keith?
Keith is raising his hand.
Oh, I'm sorry, Keith. I didn't see that. So if you wish, you're on mute. So.
No, sorry. Keith
I
Bennett.
apologize. I didn't see that. If you want to discuss, I will take away my move the question if I'm rushing. And you had a question. Did you want to discuss it?
I mean, I would have done it after the question was moved. It's not directly related. I mean, it is related, but it's not directly related. So I noticed in the plans or in the supplemental materials we received that it says that the other side of the bridge is private property. I don't know if that's like taking into account any easement we have for, construction or roadway repair. But I would hope that we would have something on the far side where we can make repairs and grading to the other abutment and any apron leading up to the bridge. I just don't know if I was misinterpreting that supplemental material or not.
We've replaced this bridge once already. So the other side of the bridge is ours, so that the abutments are part of the bridge. So we did it the last time. We didn't have any issues. I can check that out with the town engineer to make sure where the delineation line is, but we put those bridge abutments in the last time. We don't have to change the abutments this time. So there's a very minimal work on either side other than removing the existing bridge and replacing it on existing abutments.
Okay, no problem. Thanks. That was my only comment question. I apologize.
Good.
I'm sorry, I didn't notice your name. Apologize. So again, we're moving to a vote. Mr. Pettit?
Keith Bennett, aye.
Thank you, Claudia.
Claudia Riley, aye.
Thank you, Claudia. Dan?
Dan Larson, aye.
Tiffany Tealy, aye.
Peter Casper votes aye. The resolution passes unanimously.
Mr. Chair, just one more note.
Sure.
So due to the timing of the report and then the timing of the amount we would need to repair this bridge, we didn't have that in time for the CIP budget or the regular budget. That's the reason why we're doing it this way. Otherwise, if it could have waited, we would have. We don't normally do this, but because of this situation and the liability, is why I just want people to know that. We didn't have any numbers prepared in time for the budget.
Thank you. So,
I just have a question, before we get into the motion. That, this is for Grayville Road. That is still a town road all the way through out. That has never been, signed away, I believe, either.
It's never been, to my recollection, it's never been formally abandoned, but
Correct.
it's
That's what I'm
discontinued.
saying.
It's not
It's
made.
discontinued, but it's not abandoned.
Right,
So it's still on the town's rolls per se.
right,
Even though it does, you can walk through it, but you cannot
exactly.
drive through it. So we're still responsible for it.
Yep.
thank you. Tiffany, would you like to read the motion?
Sure. Move that the Hebron Board of Selectmen, in accordance with Town of Hebron purchasing policies and procedures, section 2.1B.3, approve a bid waiver and award the contract for replacement of the Grayville Bridge to Mocknick Brothers, Inc. of Old Line, Connecticut, in the amount of $150,500.
Motion's been read. Is there any discussion?
I think if I could just piggyback off of what you said about additional appropriations, and I just want to note that sometimes I struggle with sometimes how many of those we have tended to do over the past few years. Obviously, this is urgent and we need to get it done. But I also think, moving forward, we've got to be mindful of what's coming and to try to put that into the budget year as much as possible. So we've got to get this done. But I just want to be mindful of how many of these we do. Certainly, we have enough in unassigned fund balance to cover it, but just want to make that point.
Any other discussion or comments related to the motion before we go to a vote? Claudia, Keith? No, Dan? No. Okay. So motion's been read. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Those opposed, nay, or if you wish to abstain, please note that as well. Keith?
Keith Pettit, aye.
Thank you, Keith. Claudia?
Claudia Riley, aye.
Thank you, Claudia. Dan?
Dan Larson, I.
Tiffany Telia.
Thank you, Peter Casper. Aye, the motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Mr. Tierney, that moves us to 8B for those following the agenda.
Yeah, so this is to award the bid for the pedestrian bridge and trail on Pendleton Drive to the library. And I am going to ask the board to not take action on this tonight.
Okay.
And the reason for that being is I sent out a memo. So just for some history on this, this is a project we definitely want to complete. It's covered mostly by a steep grant, but there's a match, and the match is for the engineering portion. And this estimate was done in 2022, which is a couple years old. And then after the steep grant was awarded, we had to go through planning and zoning. And in doing such, some changes were made, some lighting added, some other things. And then when we went out to bid, you not know what bids are going to come in until you get them in. So we got the bids in, and for the most part, the bridge is within budget. But there's two areas that it really didn't cover. One is contingency, and the other one is essentials, where that covers inspections. So roughly those two added together, in a perfect world, we would have added that to the actual bid amount. So we're shy about 98,000 if we needed all the contingency and all the inspection money. I'm not saying that we do, but to Tiffany's point right here, I don't normally move things forward without having their funding source readily available. And I very seldom ask for supplemental appropriations myself, especially for construction. So I would like to go back to the Board of Finance or the finance director and see possibly where we can get some money to complete this important project. I would just ask the selectmen to keep in mind, if something were to come off the ARPA fund list or something, I would hope you would make this a priority so we can move this forward. I'm not suggesting anything at this time, but let me talk with the Board of Finance, come back with some possible scenarios on how to fund that shortage if it's needed. But I don't feel comfortable asking you to move forward,
Okay.
not having that.
That sounds reasonable. As anyone thank you. If anyone disagrees, will 8B will be retained as old business, at which point any will provide an update when it's appropriate.
Yeah, so with ARPA, we're trying to rush things along. The bids were just open on Monday, the packet went out on Friday, so I was in here to do this. I apologize, but I just don't feel comfortable.
That's
I've
fine.
never moved the project.
Do any of the contractors bidding on it have any possible areas where they could possibly save a few dollars?
Well, this is a low bidder and it's pretty cut and dry what they submitted through the engineer. The letter of recommendation from the engineer pretty much states that as well. But when I saw it, and I said, I don't really feel comfortable without having that contingency.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't feel good about that.
Hmm.
We don't have $100,000 land.
No.
I tell my kids all. All right, thank you. That's reasonable. So we'll take that off the agenda and we'll address it as appropriate at a future date. If you have more information, that'll move us to 8C. I'll turn over to Mr. Tierney for that.
Yes, under 8C, it's award the contract for a consultant for the Gilead Hill Hebron Elementary School HVAC IAQ upgrade grant program. Attaches correspondence from the Public Building Committee recommending award of contract relevant to the HVAC project at Gilead Hill and Hebron Elementary Schools. The Public Building Committee is recommending award of the contract for consultant services from P&M Resources LLC at the June 27th, 2024 Hebron Board of Finance. Meeting, the Board of Finance approved a supplemental appropriation in the amount of $78,600 for the Gilead Hill and Hebron Elementary School HVAC project to cover the consultant and engineering firms. And then we have Richard Steiner here from the Building Committee if needed, and there's a proposed motion.
So let's get the motion read and then we'll turn it over for discussion. And Richard, if you'd like to add any context before you move to a vote. All right, so Claudia, and if you could work your volume on this, if you wouldn't mind reading the motion, you were a little quiet before, and if you wouldn't mind reading the motion, I'd appreciate it.
Would love to. All right. The proposed motion is move that the Hebron Board of Selectmen award the contract for consulting services for the HVAC IAQ upgrade for Gilead Hill and Hebron Elementary Schools to PM Resources LLC of Canton, Connecticut, in the amount of $3,500 for each school.
Thank you. Motion's been read. Richard, is there anything you wish to add in terms of context before we vote?
Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Is that X still there? There
I
you
just
go.
wanted to provide the Board of Selectmen just a little bit of background on the grant program. As the state and as the country came out of COVID in 2022, it has the governor of Vermont, the state legislature drafted and approved Public Act 22-18, which sets aside bonding money on a yearly basis to upgrade their HVAC system, air, replace, improve indoor air quality, air conditioning, address heating systems. And so this is a grant program. There's a share that the town participate in. There's a share of money that will fund directly. One of the things a couple of members of the building committee did, we reached out to a number of towns that have gone through the process successfully. Of note was Westbrook, Windsor Locks, and Colebrook. And one of the names that kept coming up as far as facilitator and project manager was PM Resources. And one of the comments we heard from a couple of towns was, we tried to do the grant program on our own. And just about made it in some cases failed. And we brought PM Resources on, got over the finish line. So, one of the things that I'm a member of the committee myself heard, whether you can go it by yourself, it's an arduous process, or for very short money, you can consult really help you through. Since 2022, I think PM Resources is successful over, I would say 9 or 12 different public schools.
Okay. Questions from the board? No? Keith, your hands up?
Yeah, I just, I mean, I know we did a supplemental appropriation for, consulting and engineering, and I agree, some of these grant processes can get, very detailed and, hiring on a consulting firm can make things go a lot smoother. However, I just have a question about, we say award the contract for consulting, but we're not actually, are we actually contracting with this firm? Is there a contract in place?
Richard will answer that.
I'll get Richard back up here, Keith, if you can't see him, so just give him a second.
For Richard.
There's, actually, there isn't a contract in place. This would be a proposed contract that the town of Hebron would be entering into with PM Resources for elementary. I hope I understood the question.
So, yeah, so if we go forward with the
Yeah.
motion, and that would execute a contract, but we then, is that,
You would approve.
we're approving moving forward with a contract with this firm?
That's
right.
Okay, and is that something you're uncomfortable with, Keith?
Yeah, I'm hesitant because, so
Maybe lost.
We lost your audio.
I think you froze.
Oh,
Steve.
I actually lost your audio. I didn't hear anything Peter's just said except a couple of blips.
Oh.
Sorry.
Okay, I said something really important, but now I forgot it. So what I was asking is that, or trying to clarify, is that this would allow us to move forward with entering into a contract. And then I asked you, are you uncomfortable with that process of what the motion is suggesting, which we don't have a contract? This allows us to move forward with entering into a contract. And I wanted to make sure I understood your concern around that, or if Richard's clarification addressed your concern.
Okay, so yes, I agree with your points that I don't feel as presented that it is a contract or that we are entering into it correctly. I would feel better if we said something like we authorize Andy Tierney or the building committee or whoever to enter into a contract with them. But the correspondence from PM Resources was not a contract and was not for $3,500. So I just want to put that out there that it's concerned. Their response was concerning.
Okay. In terms of how they responded or the structure of their response, just want to make sure I fully understand your concern. Or did it respond?
If you scroll down to their letter, in their letter, they say they will spend up to $3,500 and then they'll basically just stop working.
So not to exceed the amount of
No.
3,500.
Keep going.
Is that, oh, beyond that?
I think it's on the second page. Yep.
$100
Scroll down a little
hour
bit.
will not exceed
Bottom.
maximum.
Okay.
So is your concern, so I guess, Richard, if I'm hearing Keith correctly, so is it possible they could expend 3,500 and not complete the project?
No, I think what PM Resources is trying to articulate is through the entire process, the maximum cost that the town would be exposed to for each school would be $3,500.
A
So-
piece or in total?
So up to 3,500 not to exceed, but I'm hearing your concern, Keith, is that, here's my bill,
Sorry, it's on-
3,500, I'm not.
On page 1. It's on page 1. It says, my fee for these services is $100 per hour with a not to exceed $3,500 maximum with reimbursables for mileage. If the not to exceed amount is reached, we will discuss my continued participation.
Right, so you're saying that we could exhaust
not a matter.
3,500 and it's great, but we have another 5,000 to spend or the project isn't complete. So it's open-ended.
Well, it
Doesn't-
basically says that he can spend $3,500 on the first page, and then we'll discuss. You know what I
But
mean? It's written really
What
badly.
Mr. LaFleur is saying is that we could reach 3,500, I could not be done, and then I'm gonna come back and ask for more, which is now it's undefinable in terms of its maximum. Because his suggestion, if I'm understanding this correctly, is that if that amount is exceeded, reached 3,500, then we'll discuss my continued participation with, I guess, Keith, you're suggesting that we could not be finished and 3,500 could turn into some unknown number.
Yeah, and again, these are complicated documents and there could be hiccups and it might go over that. And I might not even have a problem with that. But my problem is that our motion is making it seem like this cost to the taxpayers will not exceed 3,500. And that is not a true statement.
But we'd have to make a
I don't really
decision.
like the way the motion
Not gonna-
is written. You know what I mean?
Okay,
So when you bid on a project like this, he's right, no disagreement there. But they're unknowns, they haven't been here, they haven't seen the school, so that's a proposal to do this work. They feel they can get it done for that amount of money for each school. But there could possibly something like in any situation could change that. But I don't want to speak for you, Richard, you've dealt with them. Their proposal was they felt they could do this work for that, but they're leaving that in case of what
Yeah, I
if.
mean, the whole phone conversations I had with Roger before, he felt very confident that they could finish work for 3,500. I mean, in the preschool.
Yeah.
I mean, to make the board feel comfortable, and it's a good point, Mr. Pettit, that you made. I could ask him to restate the proposal so that there isn't potential to open or the perception that there's an open and beyond the 30.
So if we have them reword that, Keith, would that help?
Yeah, or even just rewording the motion with an expected amount of 3,500 or something like that, but not to exceed, if I go to the public and I say to the public, hey, this is not to exceed 3,500. Then that's what they expect. But there could be a hiccup, and it could be a perfectly legitimate hiccup, and one that I would readily approve that they go to 5,000. But I feel that it's disingenuous to upfront say it's not going to exceed 3,500 if I don't know that.
Okay, we can change the language on the motion if that works for the board.
Need something to give some sort of protection to the town.
I agree.
There's protection to him or E&M. I don't see there's protection to the town.
but what I just want to make sure I'm clear, I'm hearing that we could adjust the motion wording, but also do we need Mr. Steiner to go back, Keith, to your point, and get a different verbiage from Mr. LaFleur regarding being more clear on the amount of the expected amount should cover it? I mean, do you want some different wording in both areas or just a revision to the motion?
I mean, I appreciate that the building committee, went to PM Resources to get them to kind of find, a reasonable ceiling. I just think as far as our motion goes, I don't want to misrepresent to taxpayers that 3,500 is an unbreakable ceiling. I think that not to exceed, maybe the motion shouldn't say that. The motion is probably something that should be like, we authorize the town manager to enter into a contract for an initial expense or an expense of 3,500, and then we can always come back and adjust it. But saying not to exceed gives that expectation that the person being contracted with is going to complete the deliverables for that amount come any contingency.
Well, I mean, the not to exceed is not in the motion.
Yeah,
That's
it doesn't
in
say
the
that.
letter from PM Resources. I just want to make sure that's clear. It's not in the motion, but we could definitely revise the motion in whatever way you want, or even have PM Resources come back and do different wording there. So the motion, just to reread it, is, move that the board, et cetera, in the amount of 3,500 for each school, in the amount of. So, we could adjust that to the anticipated amount of, we could, and whatever, you're
Mr.
driving
Chair?
this discussion, so I don't want to put words in your mouth, but the not to exceed is in the letter, not in the motion. So how are you comfortable with the motion? Or do you want us to go back and get some additional clarification from PM Resources that better aligns with the motion?
If I may.
Yeah, go ahead, Andy.
So in talking about Richard, this isn't that time sensitive. So here in this conversation, let's just get it cleaned up and bring it back. Both the motion and the,
I would want to.
and the bid.
Okay.
Feel comfortable.
Okay,
We want to do it right.
Keith,
We're hearing you loud and clear.
Okay, that's fine.
Keith, thank you.
all right, so we'll put 8C we won't move forward in 8C, and that will,
Business.
we go to old business. So thank you, Rich, for that. Thank you, Keith, for
And
that.
try to have something in there
Good
that
discussion.
also protects the town's interest.
Yeah, that's fine. We'll come back to that since you brought up some good valid points, and Claudia, you're now owed another motion. Since we're gonna table this one, all right? All right, are you comfortable, everyone comfortable tabling the motion? Yes, okay.
Yes.
Thank you, Richard. Thank you, Andy, for that suggestion. Thank you, Keith, for that good discussion. Okay.
Thanks.
C, Mr. Tierney.
8D. Under the item 8D is approve a bid waiver and award of contract for road resurfacing. Attached is a memo from Paul Forrest, who's with us here tonight, our Public Works Director, requesting a bid waiver for the road resurfacing contract for fiscal year 2024, 2025. And then there's a proposed motion, but he can have a brief explanation of why we're asking to do this. The state of Connecticut puts out the bids per district, and the company that we want to use that's available to do it in the time frame that we want to do it is on the state contract, but it didn't bid this district. So he's going to give us the state contract bid numbers. But because he didn't bid the district, I feel it's important that we have the board of selectmen do a bid waiver, because the company that did win it, last year we had a problem with them. They couldn't come in and finish it because they came in too late, and we like to get this stuff done before the school buses pull. And we've got a commitment from the Wasso, but the other company couldn't give us a commitment once again. And I think this is in the best interest of the town, and that's what the bid waiver calls for. And it is a number that's already submitted to the state, so it's not out of line. Paul, I don't know if you have anything to add.
I don't, of course. It came in about $3 less per ton for the projects that we want to work on. So it is also a savings. So. And I dealt with this contractor before, and they're very good. So they have very good background.
They're within the state, right?
Right.
The other one's out of state.
Yeah. Pretty much. Any questions?
Questions, Keith or Claudia? Okay, I will read the proposed motion. Move that the Hebron Board of Selectmen, in accordance with Town of Hebron Purchasing Policies and Procedures, Section 2.1B3, approve a bid waiver and award the contract for road resurfacing for fiscal year 2024 to 2025 to Golasso Materials. Motion's been read. Any further discussion? Okay. We'll move to a vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Those opposed, nay, or please note if you wish to abstain. Keith?
Keith Bennett, aye.
Thank you. Claudia?
Claudia Riley, aye.
Claudia Dan?
Dale Larson, aye.
Tiffany Tealy, aye.
Peter Casper, aye. The motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Paul. And thank you, Andy, for that additional. Appreciate that. Okay. Danny, 8E.
Item 8E is schedule a special town meeting. A special town meeting is required to act on several items. The town manager is recommending a special town meeting be scheduled for Tuesday, August 20th, 2024. A meeting called an appointment of a moderator and alternate moderator will be presented for April at the August 1st, 2024 Board of Selectmen's meeting. Then there's a motion with the items on there, but just for a little bit of explanation, we've been kind of pushing this off, and some of these items are starting to become time sensitive. They've been lingering for quite a while, so I think it's imperative that we try to move this forward.
Okay. So we have a motion before us. Claudia, do you want to call on you again since your last motion was delayed? If you'd like to.
Sure.
So,
Um, Be it resolved that the Hebron Board of Selectmen schedule a special town meeting for Tuesday, August 20th, 2024 at 7 p.m. in the Douglas Library Community Room, 22 Main Street, Hebron, Connecticut, to consider the following. 1, approve Savvy Brothers Town of Hebron land swap. 2, acceptance of Yap's property, 56 Church Street. 3, acceptance of Community Challenge Grant. 4, acceptance of Hebron Green Pedestrian Connection and Parking Improvements, steep grant. 5, approve supplemental appropriation from unassigned fund balance to the amount of $167,000 and as approved by the Board of Finance for the Gilead Hill and Hebron Elementary School public address and time clock systems installation.
So any further discussion? Or any discussion? Okay, move to a vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Those opposed, nay, or if you wish to abstain, please note that. Keith?
Keith Pettit, aye.
Thank you. Claudia?
Claudia Riley, aye.
Claudia, Dan?
Dale Larson, aye.
Dan, Tiffany?
Tiffany Tealy, aye.
Tiffany, Peter Casper votes aye. Passes unanimously. Thank you very much. That moves us to 8F.
8F, well, you've been waiting for, we have our fire chief here with us tonight. This is to approve a DEEP 2024 volunteer fire capacity grant application. The fire department is seeking permission to apply for a DEEP 2024 volunteer fire capacity, formerly volunteer fire assistance grant to assist in the purchase of water delivery appliances and hose. This is a matching grant where DEEP will reimburse up to $2,500. A copy of the grant application and estimates are attached. Previously received funds from some of this equipment through the Connecticut Water Grant in 2023 and applied for some same again this year. But the water company choice to award funds to departments who had not previously applied. If approved, the grant would help finish out this project and listed as 2 half hydrant gate valves with a price of $11.5626. 2 large diameter hydrant gate valves at $1,840 even, 2 25-inch and 2 50-inch length, 5-inch large diameter hose for the use with the large diameter hydrant gates listed above for $2,262.92. I'm sorry, that's 25 feet and 50 feet. Required match would be satisfied by budget funds. And then there's a proposed motion. The chief's here if there's any questions.
Okay, I'm going to read the motion read, Chief, and then obviously then we'll open up for discussion and your input as well. So Dan, would you like to read the motion?
Sure. Move the Hebron Board of Selectmen approve the application for the Connecticut Department of Energy and Environmental Protection 2024 Volunteer Fire Capacity Grant Program in the amount of $2,500 and authorize Andrew J. Tierney, Town Manager, to apply for, accept, and receive such grant if awarded.
Thank you. Motion's read, Chief. Additional context or comments?
Sure. So this is the grant that we apply for every year. DEP does it, the EEG does it every year, where it's a matching 50 grant. Again, we bought some of these appliances through a grant through Connecticut Water, and last year we applied for it again and were unsuccessful. So we want to finish out that project, the rest of the appliances and the short lengths, the 25-foot, 50-foot lengths of large diameter hose, which are used to connect from hydrant to truck or truck to truck. So the balance, if we were successful, 2,500 would come from state and the rest would come out of our operating.
Any questions for the chief? Okay, motion's been read. Chief, thank you for providing that additional context. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Those opposed, nay, or if you wish to abstain, please note that as well. Keith?
Keith Pettit, aye.
Keith, Claudia?
Claudia Riley, aye.
Claudia, Dan?
Dale Larson, aye.
Dan, Tiffany?
Tiffany Tealy, aye.
Thank you, Tiffany. Peter Casper, aye. The motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Chief, for joining us and for providing that additional information. Yeah. Although I see another firefighter.
Don't run away, chief. One more.
Okay, that moves us to G, Mr. Tierney.
AG, approve Leary Firefighters Foundation grant application. The fire department is seeking permission to apply for a Leary Firefighters Foundation grant to assist in the purchase of a firefighting turnout, it says A, firefighting turnout gear, extractor washer, and a firefighter turnout gear dryer. Link to the grant application and Levy FF Foundation website are below, and estimates for equipment attached. If applied for and approved, the foundation may fund the entire project or a portion. For current exactor and dryer estimated to be 25 plus years old, the exactor does not meet current NFPA or OSHA protective gear cleaning standards, nor the significant charges being proposed by OSHA regarding cleaning equipment and infrastructure. These two items are currently in the capital outlay schedule for fiscal years 2025-26. So if successful, this would save the town over $24,000. And Continental Rear washer base, $10,462. Continental Garber Express gear dryer, $12,863. Detergent pump, turnout gear soap, turnout gear sanitizer, $1,065. Then there's a proposed motion.
Okay, so let's read the motion and then again, Chief can provide some context. And Keith, I know you're sick, so I'm not purposely calling on you to read motions. If you're good, I mean.
Oh, I'll take it.
I'll take it, okay. Didn't want to exclude you.
Move that the Hebron Board of Selectmen approve the application for the Leary Firefighters Foundation grant in the amount of $24,391 and authorize Andrew J. Tierney, Town Manager, to apply for, accept, and receive such grant if awarded.
Motion's read, Chief.
Thank you. So, currently an extractor is a fancy name for a washing machine for turnout gear. So our current extractor and dryer are actually 28 years old. So with cancer being the #1 killer of firefighters, unfortunately today, we want to upgrade that equipment. The newer equipment is designed differently. The turnout gear manufacturers actually specify what speed the gear has to be spun at, the washer, and the temperature, and so that the modern equipment can actually be programmed specifically to the brand or manufacturer gear that we have now, which is kind of cool. So we had put this in our capital outlay request for next year. And this year with the Leary Firefighters Foundation, they're focusing on firefighter health and safety. So we've actually applied to this organization before for equipment, but we're never successful. But I'm hopeful because their sweet spot this year is safety and firefighter health, that we may be successful at this. And again, they're not inexpensive, you know, for the pairs. It's $24,000. The sanitizer and the detergent are automatically injected into the washing machine, so you don't have to measure it out. Everything's the right amount for manufacturer specifications.
So Chief, when you mentioned, cancer, just for those that maybe aren't as well informed about the exposures that firefighters face with the equipment and the material and how, and just maybe a little more context on that. I
Sure.
appreciate that.
Yeah, so we're exposed, unfortunately, we're exposed to carcinogens before we even get to the fire. The turnout gear that we actually wear has something called PFAS in it, which is the chemical that was basically banned that was in firefighting foam because it's a carcinogen. But it was used in firefighting products because it's water repellent. It repels water. So the gear we actually put on before we get there has this carcinogen in it. And we get to the fire, and you're exposed to heat, smoke, and things that are burning in houses now aren't cotton and wood. They're all petroleum-based products, all synthetics. So fires are burning hotter, they're dirtier, and especially when you're working and you sweat and your pores are open, even with protective gear on, it clings to your body. So this past year, actually, state of Connecticut added some legislation that actually gives us coverage now for occupational cancer, which we never had before. But the caveat to that is you have to follow the NFPA and OSHA guidelines as far as cleaning gear. So every year, whether you wear it or not, we have to clean the gear twice. It's got to be, it's got to at least be cleaned twice, and any significant exposure, it's got to be cleaned as well. Our practice is if we go to a fire, no matter how big or small, your gear gets washed, period. So we're washing it more than we used to in the past. In the past, it was a sign of how cool you were. The dirtier your gear, the saltier you were, but it's not the case anymore. We want everyone to be crisp and clean. So, and again, we're cleaning the gear more than we ever did.
So not just because I find this very important in my mind that all of our especially our emergency service personnel are safe. Is the state recommending different gear Or is this the gear that everybody's using?
So that's a great question, because right now, because of the standards, the National Fire Protection Association standards that dictate how the gear is built and designed, there's no other chemical that has the water repellency that the PFAS does. So actually, the state of Connecticut, I was doing some research today. Thankfully, by 2028, the state of Connecticut will not allow the sale of or purchase of turnout gear that has that chemical. And right now, like the International Association of Firefighters, they've actually sued a number of the manufacturers to try and get them to stop using this chemical. Because there are alternatives, which like are almost right there, but they're a fraction below the water repellency of the current stuff. But current stuff causes cancer. So, but Connecticut was very proactive and said, hey, 2028, you can't sell here and you can't buy them.
So in terms of like forward thinking, are we, when you think of budgeting for replacing this equipment, is that going to be in concert with these new changes, or are you going to suggest that we do it soon?
Well, so unfortunately, right now, you can't, even if we wanted to, you can't even buy it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Which some manufacturers are starting to come out with variations, but there's nothing like a true coat and pant set that's 100% PFAS free. So even if we wanted to buy it today,
Okay.
we can't.
So the forcing of the manufacturers will allow us to provide safer equipment, but we can't provide that equipment now.
Right.
That's a tough spot.
So,
Okay, well, that's very helpful to have that context.
Claudia has her hand.
Go ahead, Claudia.
Yep, I just want to express my great support for this particular grant application with respect to the health and safety of our firefighters in Hebron. This particular issue hits very close to home for myself and my family. My father is a cancer survivor as a result of being a fireman for 30 years. He luckily survived, but it was as a result of exposure to the firefighting foam that was used back in the 80s. So this is real.
Thank you for that, and thank you, Chief, for the additional information associated with this. So unless there's further discussion or questions for the chief, the motion's been read. We'll move to a vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Those opposed, nay, or please note if you wish to abstain. Keith?
Keith Pettit, aye.
Thank you. Claudia?
Claudia Riley, aye.
Claudia, Dan?
Dale Larson, aye.
Thank you, Dan. Tiffany?
Tiffany Tealy, aye.
Thank you, Tiffany. Peter Casper, aye. The motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Chief, for that that description and that information, and obviously always an opportunity to thank you and your team for the service that you bring to our community.
if I could just real quick.
Yeah, sure.
Our two federal grant applications are still pending.
Okay.
Apply for. So the longer we go without hearing, the better. No news is good news with those. And actually, Congress just reauthorized those our federal grant programs for 2024. So once those are released again, sure we're gonna apply for another one.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you again, Chief. Appreciate everything. Thank you. Tierney, it moves us to 8H. Approval of a revised job description for the adult and senior services social worker. You have anything you wish to add for that? I know we have it in our packet.
No, it's pretty much cut and dry.
Okay.
It wasn't a lot of cleanup, but as we go through all these job descriptions, we're trying to,
Yeah.
Address the issues as we move forward to bring them standard up currently. So I think it depicts the changes,
Okay.
which is very subtle. So I would hope the board of selectmen had read this in the back end and willing to approve that.
If you may.
Sure. Move that the Hebron Board of Selectmen approve the revised job description for the adult and senior services social worker as presented.
Any discussion? Okay, seeing no need for discussion, I will move to a vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Those opposed, nay. But please note if you wish to abstain. Keith?
Keith Pettit, aye.
Keith, Claudia?
Claudia Riley, aye.
Claudia, Dan?
Dale Larson, aye.
Dan, Tiffany?
Tiffany Tealy, aye.
Thank you, Peter Casper, aye. The motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much. That moves us to 8I, which is the approval of a revised job description for our program supervisor.
Yes, once again, this is repetitive to the one we just did. There's some subtle changes in it that was in the packet. I don't see anything that shouldn't want them anybody, but in case it does, bring up your concerns. If not, I would suggest you move forward.
Okay, Claudia, would you be kind enough to read the motion, please?
Sure. The proposed motion is move that the Hebron Board of Selectmen approve the revised job description for the Parks and Recreation Program Supervisor as presented or amended.
Thank you. Motion's been read. Any discussion? Keith?
Yeah, sorry. I just noticed on this one, and I don't know if it's because we copied it from another posting and just didn't notice the subtle difference. This one asks for or it doesn't ask for, it says a requirement of the employment is passing a Corey background check. That's for Massachusetts. We should remove
Could you
Corey
just
and just,
reference the page? I'm sorry, could you reference the page? Page 3? Okay.
Page 3 of the
All right.
special requirements.
Oh, okay.
is it page
Page 3.
special requirements? Yes, on page 3. I apologize.
Oh.
Be able to
Um,
pass a Corey background check. It should just be background check.
Good catch. We can strike that.
Okay, we'll strike
You're
that.
gonna approve it as amended. That would be great.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you very much for catching that. Any other? Yes.
Yeah, I just want to make a brief comment that, the person that was in this role was Brianna, Alessio, and she was fantastic. I think this is a tremendous loss for the town of Hebron. Certainly wish her well in her future endeavors, and I encourage people to come out to her. She's directing the summer play.
Yeah, she's
in
still gonna be doing
August.
that.
Yeah, and she'll still be doing that. So, you know, she's a great person and she'll be missed.
Okay, so motions were read with the amendment noted. So we'll move to a vote. All those in favor with pass the vote regarding the motion with the amended language. You signify by saying aye. If you're opposed, nay, or if you wish to abstain, please note that as well. Keith?
Keith Pettit, aye.
Thank you, Claudia.
Claudia Riley, aye.
Claudia, Dan?
Dan Larson, I.
Thank you. Tiffany?
Tiffany Tealy, aye.
Thank you. Peter Casper votes aye, so the motion passes unanimously as amended. Thank you very much. Okay, that moves us to our draft agenda for our August 1st meeting. So as we normally do, if you wish to add anything, make any adjustments, please contact the town manager's office and let them know about that. So nothing that we need to do there. We move down to K, which is any other new business. Mr. Tierney, any other new business to bring before the board?
I do not, sir.
Okay, any board member wish to bring any new business forward? Okay, that moves us to our section 9 on the agenda, which is our consent agenda. Consent agenda items are considered to be routine in nature, which the board may not need to discuss individually and may be voted on as any board member who wishes to discuss a particular item in this section may request the chair to remove it for later discussion and a separate vote if necessary. So we have the approval of the minutes of June 20th, 2024 regular meeting, and we have tax refunds. So does anybody wish to comment or remove or anything associated with this consent agenda? Anybody have any issues or wish to separate the items?
Where are the tax,
What's that?
where are the tax?
I don't know.
There are none.
Oh, there are none.
There are none.
No.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It would be listed.
Oh, you're right. No, I see the
Okay,
title.
I just wanted to make.
No, no,
sure.
I almost made it through without mistake. It's so close.
This is the take it in month. We're not giving any back.
All right, great. I'm assuming there's tax refund. Thank you for that, catch. So it is just the approval of the minutes. So, look, or does anybody have any issue with the minutes, just from a discussion perspective, that changes? Okay. So, all those in favor of approving the minutes of June 20th, 24 regular meeting, please signify by saying aye. Those opposed, nay, or if you wish to abstain, please note that as well. Keith?
Keith Pettit, aye.
Keith, Claudia?
Claudia Riley, aye.
Thank you. Yeah,
Abstain, was not here.
and will abstain. Tiffany?
Tiffany Tealy, aye.
And Peter Casper, aye. The motion passes 4 with 1 abstention noted. Thank you very much. All right, moves to liaison reports. I do not have anything for HMU services. Tiffany, Hebron Board of Education.
The Hebron Board of Ed hasn't met, but they are going to have their board retreat later this month.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Larson, Board of Finance.
Nothing, thank you.
Okay, it moves to land acquisition. Mr. Pettit.
No further information.
Claudia, anything from the room? Wrong. There we go. Ram, 5 kids. I can't pronounce the name, Ram. Although my last one just graduated. So Ram Board of Ed, Claudia.
Oh, hello. Must be the heat. I got nothing to report either.
All right, well, that then flies us right to public comment. So section 11 is public comment. Is anybody, Terry, do you wish, Terry's in person, so thank you for joining us. Anything you wish to add?
No, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you for attending. Is there anybody online that wishes to comment?
There's nobody on there. And if nobody raises their hand, I'd like just to take a quick chance just to reiterate. So when we send this agenda packet out to the board of selectmen, we try to send it out like almost a week early. And the reason for that is if you do see something that you think might need to be changed, you can feel free to call us and we can try to get it done. That's not a criticism of anybody, but like tonight, if Keith, if you would have caught that earlier, you could have maybe called us and I could have maybe fixed that. Not saying that's the case, but just want to reiterate, that's the reason we send out early. It's pretty hard to get this out that early, but we do it so the selectmen have plenty of time to possibly have some dialogue, or if they have a question on something like that, we could fix it. So when we get to the meeting, the heavy lifting is already done.
Sure, thank you. I know this one, I think, has 113 pages, so we appreciate that you send it out in time for us to actually. So thank you for that. And I do, they're very comprehensive and there's a lot of material. So
We do make mistakes and guilty of being human.
Nope, same here. So, that's public comment. So
Peter?
that moves us to sections. Oh, did someone say something?
I raised my hand, but it's not seen. Diana's here.
Diane, I'm sorry. I moved back to public comment. I didn't see you. Nope.
Just now, I see that.
Go ahead, Diane.
Sorry about that. I would like to make public comment, Diane Del Rosso, 9 Shepherd Lane. I just want to report that when the Board of Finance met on June 27th, we had a couple of proposed resolutions to put forth. And the resolution for the Board of Ed, Gilead Hills School and Hebron Elementary School public address and time clock systems, I believe the Board of Finance did not pass a supplemental appropriation. We made a motion that under the town of Hebron's general fund balance policy, that the town manager and finance director be directed by the Board of Selectmen to transfer from the unassigned fund balance the $167,000 for this purpose. So while the town manager may choose to handle this as a supplemental appropriation, that's not how it was passed by us, I believe.
Yeah, no, we'll. Yep, we can take a look at that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else, Diane?
That's
Oh,
it.
thank you for joining us, and thank you for all the work that you're doing on the Board of Finance. Okay, so see no further public comment. I would turn to Tiffany.
Move to adjourn the Board of Selectmen's meeting at 8:13 PM.
Mr. Larson. Second. The meeting is adjourned as noted. Thank you all
This
very
conference
much.
is no longer being recorded.
Thank you all. Have a good night.
Thanks, everybody. Have a
Thank
good
you
night.
very much.
Thank you.